The fog has turned into a slaughterhouse for newcomers. If you've just started playing, this probably sounds familiar. Whether you're trying to outsmart a monster or become one, that initial excitement quickly melts into frustration. It feels like more than just a string of bad luck, because the game itself seems to be setting you up to fail. The dream of a tense, heart-pounding chase or a terrifying hunt dissolves into a nightmare of being completely outplayed in seconds. Today, we're breaking down the brutal meta and the broken systems that stack the deck against new players from the moment they step into the trial. We're going to explore why the learning curve in Dead by Daylight feels more like a vertical cliff, and what it means for the future of the game. Quick note, finding good quality videos of small creators playing Dead by Daylight for the first time is pretty difficult. Shocker, I know. For that reason, I'm using pretending to be a baby videos in the background for this one. I hope it's entertaining. I could play some games and pretend to be new myself, but firstly, that's disingenuous as I have thousands of hours in this game. And secondly, in my discussion videos, I try to use the background footage to prop up other creators. So just keep in mind, the background footage here is from pretending to be a baby videos, and the videos themselves are pretty funny to watch. I encourage you to check them out. The first wall every new player smacks into is the current game meta. For new survivors, this means facing apex predators with terrifying mobility. Killers like the Blight, the Ghoul, or a reworked Billy can cross huge distances in the blink of an eye, turning what seemed like a safe generator into a death trap with zero warning. For a veteran with hundreds of hours, that's an expected and thrilling challenge. For a new player who barely understands how to hit a skill check, it's a death sentence. But this sword cuts both ways. New killers face the crushing expectation to perform at that same level. When they pick up a simpler M1 killer, they're often met by hyper-efficient survivor squads who have looping down to a science and coordinate generator repairs to finish the match in minutes. Learning to chase and mind game as a killer is incredibly difficult, taking dozens if not hundreds of hours. A new killer might see all 5 generators pop without ever securing a single hook, feeling completely powerless. While official stats are not consistently released by the developer, community-driven data from sites like Nightlight has suggested average kill rates hover between 54 and 62%. According to official stats from early 2025, the average kill rate across all skill levels was 60%, climbing to 63% for high MMR players. This indicates that in a typical match, the game is balanced around the expectation that more survivors will die than escape, a reality shaped by experienced killer success. When you combine that with a meta that rewards hyper-aggression from killers and hyper-efficiency from survivors, you get an environment that feels actively hostile to anyone just trying to learn the ropes. On top of the skill gap, you have to consider what's in your loadout. You're outmatched in experience, and you're outmatched in resources too. Dead by Daylight's progression is built around perks, and for new players, almost every essential perk is locked behind a massive grind or a paywall. Imagine playing a shooter where aiming down sights is a skill you have to unlock. That's what it feels like to be a new player. You start with a handful of basic perks. As a survivor, you get perks like Dwight's Bond to see nearby teammates or Claudette's Self-Care, which lets you self-heal slowly. They're helpful, I guess, but they're nothing compared to the meta. Veteran survivors run builds that give them a second chance with Decisive Strike, massive status recovery with Vigil, and Finesse to perform rush vaults much faster. Veteran killers have perks like Lethal Pursuer to find survivors instantly, Pain Resonance to regress key generators from across the map, and Corrupt Intervention to block generators at the start of the match. Many of these game-changing perks are from licensed characters, meaning you have to buy the DLC, while others are locked behind their own character-specific grind. For a new survivor, getting tunneled is basically game over because they don't have anti-tunneling perks like Decisive Strike or Off the Record. For a new killer, facing a coordinated team is a lost cause because they don't have powerful slowdown perks to manage generator speed. Experienced players have spent thousands of hours building an arsenal of these crucial perks, while new players are told to survive or kill with tools that barely make a difference. At that point, you can't just call it a skill issue, it's a problem with the game's design. You're left with a choice: suffer through hundreds of punishing one-sided matches, or open your wallet. And if you choose to open your wallet, the price of catching up is staggering. To purchase every character chapter individually at full price would cost over $320. A significant portion of that cost is from licensed characters from iconic horror franchises, meaning you can't just earn them with free in-game currency, you must pay. But even after spending all that money, the grind isn't over. You still have to play hundreds of hours to earn enough blood points just to unlock their essential perks for all the other characters you want to play. Let's put that grind into perspective. Even if you purchase every character, the journey has just begun. As of late 2025, the roster includes 41 killers and 48 survivors. Let's do the math with a few generous assumptions. It takes, on average, about 1 million blood points to get a single character to Prestige 1, which unlocks the first tier of their perks for all other characters. Just the first tier. We'll assume you're a top performer, earning a high score with a blood point offering in every single match, netting you 50,000 blood points every 15 minutes, a rate that is optimistic for even seasoned players. Based on a total of 89 characters, just to unlock the tier 1 perks from everyone you've purchased, you would need to play over 440 hours of pure match time at peak performance. That's more than 18 days of non-stop, high-performance gameplay just to get the basic tools that veterans take for granted. This is napkin math, and there are a lot of variables that you could consider, like double blood point weekends, blood point codes, etc. But these aren't available all the time, so I tried to be as generous as possible with the numbers we could use. I think it's pretty undeniable though, the numbers are staggering. Even if you had every perk unlocked, you'd face another huge problem. The game itself does a terrible job of teaching you how to play. Dead by Daylight's tutorial is famously, almost comically bad. For survivors, it shows you how to work on the last eighth of a generator, drop a pallet terribly, and how to wiggle. For killers, it shows you how to hit someone and hook them. That's pretty much it. Oh, yeah, it also shows you how to be a Dwight main, so there's that. You learn nothing about complex strategy, mind games, or the intricate powers from the game's huge roster. In fact, the tutorial actively teaches bad habits. It encourages survivors to drop pallets immediately, wasting valuable resources. It never explains to killers how to counter common survivor strategies or manage map pressure. New players are thrown into the deep end with lead weights tied to their ankles, armed only with the knowledge that generators are good and hooks are bad. There's no mention of advanced concepts like hook stages, status effects, bloodlust, fast vaults, or how to counter specific abilities like a nurse's blink or a ghost-face stalk. The community has been forced to pick up the slack, creating a massive library of videos and guides to explain mechanics the game just ignores. This means you basically have to do homework just to stand a chance, whether you're playing Survivor or Killer. New players are entering trials without the right perks, and on top of that, they're entering them without the right knowledge. They're losing because they were never really taught how to win in the first place. A quick side note, if you're new to the game, the YouTuber Darva has awesome guides on his channel to help you get into the flow of the game. Going back to perks from previously, he also talks about what characters you should prioritize to get a fighting chance in this game. Definitely consider checking out his videos if you need the extra help. And the final blow for new players, in my opinion, is the matchmaking. Dead by Daylight uses a hidden skill-based matchmaking rating, or MMR, to try and build balanced lobbies. In theory, this is supposed to protect new players. In reality, it often feels like a lottery where the grand prize is getting tossed into a wood chipper. The whole system is incredibly volatile. A few lucky escapes can skyrocket a new survivor's MMR, suddenly throwing them into games with killers who have thousands of hours logged. The reverse is just as brutal. A new killer might get a few easy kills against other beginners, only to be suddenly matched against a 4-person squad of veterans, who complete all the generators in 3 minutes and leave them standing in the dust. This massive, sudden skill gap is incredibly demoralizing. This all gets even worse when you factor in team coordination. A coordinated survivor team on Discord can share info, plan rescues, and strategize generator progress, giving them a massive advantage that the game's matchmaking systems can't account for. For a new killer, or even a solo survivor, facing this is an unwinnable uphill battle. Statistically, you're already playing the game where the odds are stacked, and when the matchmaking decides to throw you to the wolves, it feels hopeless. It's a vicious cycle. You lose because you're inexperienced, and you can't get the experience you need because you're always losing. If you need proof of this vicious cycle in action, look no further than the game's biggest moments. Licensed chapters have been massively successful for Dead by Daylight, bringing in waves of new players. The long-awaited Five Nights at Freddy's chapter, for example, shattered the game's all-time player records when it launched in mid-2025, pushing it to a peak of over 120,000 concurrent players on Steam alone. But the celebration is often short-lived. The data shows a recurring pattern, a massive player influx followed by a sharp decline in the following months. This is the revolving door effect. A huge crossover brings tens of thousands of new fans in, but they're immediately confronted with all the issues we've talked about. They face killers and survivors with years of experience, fight with a barren perk inventory, and are given zero effective guidance from the game itself. The community saw this coming, with players predicting that a month after Five Nights at Freddy's launch, the player count would drop back to just veterans. Some users even noted that with toxic Smurf squads, a brand new killer's first match could be against a full P100 efficient pre-made group with thousands of hours, or a brand new survivor's first match could be against a P100 nurse with a meta build and small man syndrome. These massive content drops prove the interest is there. The game's punishing entry barrier ensures that for many, the Fog is a place they only visit for a weekend before leaving for good. So why are new players being beaten down faster than ever? It really is a perfect storm. You have a meta that rewards peak performance, leaving no room for a learning curve on either side. Then you have a progression system that hides essential tools behind an endless grind for both killers and survivors. Add a new tutorial that teaches almost nothing of value, and a matchmaking system that can mercilessly punish you for having one or two good games, and you get the picture. The Fog has become a place where new players' enthusiasm goes to die. The game has become so complex and so punishing at its entry point that it feels like it's actively working against its own growth. For a game that needs a steady stream of new blood in both roles, this is a dangerous path to be on. The core of Dead by Daylight is still brilliant, but its new player experience is without a doubt one of the most brutal in modern gaming. The journey of a new player in Dead by Daylight is a true trial by fire. If you want to listen to me ramble about more Dead by Daylight, I have an entire playlist dedicated to DVD topics. Also, I want to hear your stories. What was the most brutal part of your learning experience? What killer, survivor strategy, or mechanic almost made you quit, and what kept you playing? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, consider subscribing for more deep dives into the state of the game. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the Fog. New players are entering trials without the right perks, and on top of that, they're entering them with blah blah blah. It often feels like a lottery where the grand prize is getting tossed into a wood chipper. Why did I make that so happy? The long-awaited 5 blights of Freddy's shop. I just want to keep that 5 blights at Freddy's. The Fog has become a place where a new player's enthusiasm goes to die, just like my fucking will to keep going. Jesus.